statement, we will begin the Q&A session. Please raise your hand so we can get you a microphone. As a reminder, after your first question, you'll have one follow-up question. Coach Freeman.
All right. It's here, right? Finally game week. I just remind our players, like, you work about 300 days a year for 12 guaranteed opportunities, and we've finally gotten to game week. And so it's exciting. We gotta have a great week of practice. We can't get to the game before it's here. Like, this week of preparation is going to be so crucial to dictate our performance on Saturday. This has been the healthiest fall camp really since I've been head coach, but as we've really taken data probably from the last 12 to 15 years, we've had the fewest injuries in I think 15 years. We practiced 15% more this fall camp than we had previously. We only had one concussion, and we're down 30% overall in concussion strains and sprains. And so just wanted to say that I'd like to give credit to our sports performance team and in the way they've supported our players outside of practice, and to our coaches that have bought into the adjustments we've had to make going into each practice, the way we've structured practice. The results have shown that it's been really good. We've practiced more and had less injuries, and that's a great statistic. We put out our depth chart today, which I'm sure I'll have questions about here soon. But I reminded our team last week that in my 2 years here, out of 52 possible starting lineups with O and D, we've had 39 different starting lineups. And I think that's about 82 different starters. And it's just a reminder that, there's one guarantee that the future is uncertain. So everybody on this trip has to be ready for any role. And that, we're going to need everybody that makes a trip down there. As we go throughout the season, we're going to need them all. And so, as I told them, like, the first depth chart doesn't dictate the value of this team, of you on this team, but also what the future will hold. I know you guys saw we announced our captains last week: Jack Kaiser, Riley Leonard, Riley Mills, Benjamin Morrison, and Xavier Watts. Those 5 were chosen based off team voting, and I couldn't agree more with the team in those 5 captains. But we had 16 players get more than one vote, and if you get one vote, I often say it might just be you. And but to have more than one vote, it shows the leadership we have on this football team. On to the task at hand. Texas A&M, very talented team. As you watch last year's, the guys that returned from last year's team, they're a very talented group. I have a lot of respect for Mike Elko and the job he's done at Duke and previously as a defensive coordinator at different places, and the way he's developed his football team. So we know it's going to be a challenge. We're looking forward to it. It'll be a great environment, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to face another top 20 program and Saturday night down in College Station. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
All right, Coach, first one to your far right, second row, Tom Noy.
Marcus, when you get to Saturday, what is it about this team that you know of that they can cut through all the clutter and the noise and everything that you're going to have on Saturday night and answer and be there at the moment that you need them to be?
Well, I think you're confident that you have a team that can do that. We've trained that. We've trained really being able to execute your assignment in crazy conditions with crowd noise and trying to do surprise situations in practice. But at the end of the day, they got to do it when it matters, right? And you can do it in practice. That builds confidence within yourself and with your coaching staff. But you got to do it when it matters versus an opponent. And we won't know that answer until we get to Saturday.
Head coach always wants more practice periods, more days to prepare. But when does a head coach know that his team is ready to go play? Is it something you can sense? Is it something you see or hear in the moments leading up to a game?
I think we're always optimistic, right? I've never gone into a game saying we're not ready, but you don't know truly until you face an opponent, and a good opponent at that. But I'm confident that this team is ready and will be ready when we go and face Texas A&M on Saturday.
All right, to your far left, second row, Tyler James.
Marcus, pretty soon after Charles Jagus's injury, we talked to Joe Rudolph, and he was pretty firm in supporting Tosh Baker as the potential starting left tackle. Can you walk us through how Anthony Knapp was able to win out that job and what you guys saw in him?
I think you make decisions in the moment based off previous experiences, and then that's the beautiful part of practice. Like, there's competition, and I tell those guys every day you should be trying to take somebody's job, right? And every day, if you're a starter, you should know guys behind you are trying to take your job. And we've had 10 practices since then that basically kind of got us to this conclusion that Anthony Knapp will be our starting left tackle. But he's worked tirelessly. He's done a really good job of building trust with his coaching staff, and that's why we made that decision.
And then Sam Pendleton was working at backup center to start camp and ends up winning out the left guard job over guys that were starters last year. What was he able to do, and why did he stand out as that best option?
Yeah, I would say the same thing with Knapp, right? Is just it's consistency in doing the job you're expected to do over and over and over. And that's why you make decisions, right? It's not a one-day thing, and it's not a last year thing. It's, okay, who do we believe has consistently shown in practice to get the job done over and over and over, and that's why we made those decisions. We have a lot of confidence in the two deep of our offensive line, right? There's guys with experience that are in the two deep, but at the end of the day, you have to make a decision on who you want that first group to be, and Anthony and Sam are two guys we felt would give us the best chance to have success.
Okay, middle row on your right, Allison Hayes.
The atmosphere at Kyle Field, it's huge. What are you guys doing to prepare for the sound, the atmosphere there?
Yeah, we've piped in crowd noise. We've been intentional about certain periods of, it's so loud you can't even use your coach to player microphone speaker. And again, we'll show them examples of what it's like to play there, right? In videos and in different ways, because you want them to be prepared. You want them to know what to expect. And that's going to give them the best opportunity to have an idea of what it's going to be like on Saturday night. And so we've been intentional about doing that. Yeah, we don't do it every period, but there's periods in practice we're very intentional about piping in crowd noise, piping in some of the music that they play, their fight songs, some of the chants, and just showing our guys, hey, this is what to expect on Saturday.
And just kind of piggybacking off of Tyler, but just with the inexperience that you have then at O-line, how do you feel that matches up with Texas A&M's experienced defensive line?
Yeah, it's going to be a great challenge. Their defensive line is going to present a great challenge no matter if you're experienced or not. And that's what you'll see on film over and over. They got a really good defensive line. But the guys that are going to play, they go against our defensive line every day. And we feel very confident in the defensive line we have. And so they've shown to have success against really good defensive linemen. And we feel those guys will give us the best chance. And that's why we made that decision.
Okay, left side, front row, Jack Sobel.
Marcus, obviously, you played against a Mike Elko coach defense last year and a Mike Elko coach team. Like, the players are different this time, but what challenges does he present on that side of the ball?
I think their defenses have been shown to be very sound. First and second down, they're really sound in what they do. They play hard, they tackle well. And then third down, you can see some exotic things. And that's something that over the test of time, you've seen in Mike Elko defenses. And so our job is to try to, as best as we can, not to put ourselves in third and long situations where they can become super exotic, but we got to be able to handle the things they do. You're not going to be able to trick them. They're sound, and they play hard, and so we got to be able to match up and be aggressive in what we do, right? And have confidence in what we're doing offensively, that we can move the ball against any defense.
And then with the 3 oars at wide receiver, what gives you confidence that those 6 guys have earned those spots and can make plays against this team?
Yeah, all 6 guys, man, have played, with the ones in fall camp, and that's why we decided to have oars. Like those 6 guys, I don't care who goes out with the first group. They're all 6 guys are going to play, and all 6 guys have the ability to make plays down the field, to do exactly what we asked them to do in our run and passing game, and we have a lot of confidence in all 6 of them.
All right, back to the right, third row, Tim Priester.
Another offensive line question, but I think maybe a little bit different from what we've asked you so far in the preseason, and we've asked you about everybody, but probably your 2 best linemen in Ashton Craig and Billy Schrouth. What specifically, like from a technique standpoint, what do they do so well? And then secondly, because of the things that have happened on the left side, we haven't asked much about Emil Wagner. Has he settled in to his starting spot?
Yeah, he's done a really good job. Emil's done a great job. From the start of camp till now, has been really consistent. Him and Billy have a good camaraderie on that right side. I think the things that Billy and Ashton do really well is they're powerful people. The things you ask your center to do are different than the guard in terms of some of the recognitions and calls and checks he has to make. Ashton's extremely intelligent, and he's really good with some of his calls and stuff like that. He's been consistent with his snaps, but the power, those 2 are powerful individuals, and they like to create a new line of scrimmage on the other side of the ball, and that's something that is going to be necessary to have success in the run and the pass game.
You get 3 green dots on the defensive side of the ball. Is that correct?
You can have as many as you want. Only 1 on the field at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who are obviously? I would think that Jack Kaiser's a guy with a green dot, but who else would you turn to when he's not in the game?
Our linebackers. So So Drake will have a helmet on the sideline. Kingston, Kai. I think all of our linebackers will have the chance, if necessary, to put on a green dot, but Kaiser will have the green dot to start.
Okay, middle row on your left is Sean Stires.
Marcus, there's always, I guess, an element of surprise in the opener, in terms of what you prepare for and that kind of thing. This is also the 2nd year in a row you're facing a team that's got a new head coach. So how much does that kind of add to that complexity, I guess?
Yeah, the openers, no matter if the coach is returning or not, coordinators are returning or not, like you don't truly know what to expect. You have an idea of what to prepare for, but openers are huge in terms of adjustments, and we have to be able to adjust on the sideline to what we're seeing on both sides of the ball, special teams. And so that's something that we've talked about in depth as a coaching staff, is that this game's going to be about adjustments and how do we settle down based off what we're seeing from our opponent to say, okay, here's the things we want to do on each side of the ball. And we understand that. It's been like that for the first couple of years, right, as a head coach, that you have to be able to make adjustments, especially that first game.
It's also the 3rd straight year you've opened away from home. Is there any, I guess, over the course of the season, is there any kind of value that comes with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, through fall camp, you continue to preach that at the end of the day, it's still 120 by 53 in the 3rd, right? And that's the things that matter. Like, you prepare them for the elements, the things that are outside of the football field, but at the end of the day, it's about the execution between the 120 and 53 and 3rd lines. And so, I think our guys are excited. Sometimes it's good to go on the road. We love playing at home, but obviously sometimes it's good to go on the road, us against everybody, and it's going to be exciting. We're looking forward to it.
All right, down in front on your right, John Bryce.
Marcus, whether it's when you arrived here in 21 as defensive coordinator or took over in 22 as head coach, where do you believe that this roster, top to bottom, has made the greatest strides?
I think the depth, right? We've continued to improve the depth of all positions, and it's not very often you can replace Joe Alt at left tackle and then you lose the starting left tackle and still feel very confident about the left tackle that's going into the game, and we do. And so I think our coaching staff has done a great job, our recruiting staff, at developing depth at all positions. Each year it's different. It's different. Like that's the great challenge of a coach is that you don't start over. You don't just reload it. It's you have to start over with this new group of talent, right, and build it the right way, and have a process that you believe is going to have an output that you want on these 12 guaranteed opportunities. So I'm really pleased with the depth of this football team and how our coaches and staff has recruited. Yeah.
Do you think that elevated quality depth is also perhaps a reason for fewer injuries in preseason camp? And did you go into camp thinking you would have 15% more practices, or was that a byproduct of the health?
No, it was intentional. It was intentional to, make sure we don't cut back on practice. And part of that was through, me kind of going and visiting some other teams and programs and NFL teams. And you can't cheat practice, right? You can't. You have to practice, and you gotta, get the reps that you believe you need to have a team prepared. So it was intentional to make sure that we practiced more, but the changes came in how we structured practice, right? How we structured it, the flows of practice. But another key element was the health. And so what happens is sometimes, like in the spring, we had somebody go down, and all of a sudden now it's added loads to everybody else. But to be able to keep the majority of your team healthy helped with continue to be able to have two-spot team periods and really getting all those periods accomplished.
All right, to your left, front row, Tyler Horton.
A couple weeks ago, Al Golden told us that this team has more leaders than it does captains, and you just alluded to all the guys who got at least one captain vote. So I'm curious, what can you point to that kind of tells you, yeah, we have a lot of guys beyond the guys who are wearing the C that can do the same types of things that those guys do? Yeah,
I think this might come out on the follow doc, one of these episodes coming up, but it was interesting how the voting played out, where you had those 5 guys that got the majority of the votes that were named captains, but right below them you had 6 offensive guys to get double-digit votes, right, from like 25 to upper teens. And what I told the offense, I said, man, this is exactly how you want it to be. You got your quarterback, that's the captain, and then you got some real leaders right on that offensive side of the ball. And defensively, you got 4 captains, right? So that shows you about their leadership. But I love that. Like, let the quarterback get the shine. That's good. You're the captain. But we got real leadership. Like, that's not just 2 votes. I'm talking about high teens to 20s. And so that spoke volumes to me of the way our team viewed the leadership in our offensive room.
Speaking about that quarterback, last year, I think it must have been the Ohio State game, we talked about how Sam Hartman felt like he had been in enough situations to feel comfortable. What have you seen from Riley Leonard and going back to his time at Duke and just who he is to say, okay, yeah, he can go in there and play in front of 100,000 and be just fine?
Yeah, he's played in obviously big game environments throughout his career. He's done a really good job throughout his career of doing his job. And I have a lot of confidence in him, just from what he's done, but also the trust that he's earned here. Right? We try to create high-pressure situations in practice. Right? You can't bring in 100,000 fans for practice, although you guys might like that. But what you try to do is create high-pressure situations and see how your team performs. And Riley's performed really well in those situations.
Okay, far right, front row, Eric Hansen.
Hey, Coach, I got kind of an odd combination question in the beginning, and it's going to depend on how you answer the first part. Chance Tucker, you had mentioned, and I'm guessing that wasn't a short-term injury. In light of that, how your safeties shook out, how that rotation shook out, and do you have to cross-train anybody to help your cornerback?
Yeah, Chance will be out for the year. He tore his ACL, but I feel good about, although, I love Chance, man. He's a great teammate. He's a great person. You feel terrible for him that he loses this season. But as far as the DBs, again, it goes back to the recruiting question. Like, we got a lot of depth there. And I'm very confident in the depth of both the safety and the corners room. Rod Hurd's a guy that can play multiple positions. He can play corner, he can play safety, he can play nickel, so he gives you added depth to both rooms. But I really like it, man. I like the depth. I think Adon Schuler has done a great job at proving that he can be trusted and counted on. He's going to be a really good player for us. And then we got some good young guys like Leonard Moore and Carson Hobbs and some of those guys that are all going to be able to help us this year.
I appreciate how you navigated that. That was a very confusing question. Anyways, the second part, my other question has to do with all of a sudden this oppressive humidity is here in South Bend for a few days. Are you too close to the game to really take advantage of that and acclimate your team, or is this like, yeah, this is what we need?
Appreciate the good Lord Almighty bringing the heat here, you know. What else would you want being here at Notre Dame and our mother on top of the Golden Dome bring a little heat on Monday, Tuesday, and probably into Wednesday. But no, it's not too late. We've been preparing for the heat, but now it's not just preparing. Like, you'll feel it, right? You'll feel it out at practice, and it's probably going to be warmer tomorrow during practice than it probably will be for the game. And so it's a great reminder for our players. Like, now you have your routines for hydration and refueling, but now you have to do it with the heat. It's not just, hey, remind you to drink fluids and to, have carbs during these breaks that we have. It's like the heat will force you to do that too. And so it's going to be good to be out there. We'll go out there today. We'll go out there tomorrow and get a little bit of it on Wednesday too. But it's going to be good for our team to really just feel the heat and double down on that routine we talked about to help them perform at a high level.
To your left, far, Peeper.
Hey, Coach. When you think about the fact that you've got a high-profile opener, a quality opponent, or a raucous atmosphere, just how big of a tone setter do you feel like this is for your season and a potentially good jumping-off point if it goes well?
Yeah, I thought about that. It's a great opportunity to face a great opponent, to see how good your program is week one. But no matter what the outcome of this game is, it doesn't dictate what the season's going to be, right? And I'm sure a guy like Mike Norvell's having that same conversation. They come in with high expectations and they lose the first one, but guess what, man? You got a whole bunch of football ahead of you, and you can still achieve all your goals. And so we are going to do everything in our power to make sure we're ready to win this game. That's what you do, right? You get 12 guaranteed opportunities, and I don't care who the opponent is, but you have success, like, you got to get refocused for the next week. You don't have success, you got to get refocused for the next week because this is just game one, and we need to understand that.
When you think about the noise in that stadium and the different ways you guys have tried to prepare for it, are there things on the field you can do in terms of play calling or things that you'll try to do to take the crowd out of the game when you can? I mean, and will that be important for you guys?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything intentional that we're going to try to do to take the crowd out. That will be determined probably based off our execution, and I think for us it's the preparation for a loud crowd that's more important than anything. We didn't do a great job last year of playing clean at Duke, right? We had too many pre-snap penalties, and so we've been very intentional on preparing in a loud environment in practice, so we eliminate the pre-snap penalties, right? We can't let the crowd affect our operation, and so I feel very confident we have a great plan for the crowd noise.
Okay, down the middle on your right, Tim O'Malley.
Coach, it's two personnel questions. I think from the outside, we've all seen sophomore Christian Gray really ascend from spring to now. Just in your opinion, what has Christian Gray done to claim a job that was obviously heavily contested in the spring? What are his greatest efforts since freshman season?
I think one of the greatest things for Christian, he's a great football player. He's talented, but he had a great example and mentor in Benjamin Morrison. Those two roomed together in the hotel, and I would see them studying last year when Christian wasn't the starter, right? He was the third or fourth quarterback after Cam Hart. and he was preparing to be the guy. And fast forward to the spring and the fall, like you can't wait for your opportunity to start preparing that way. And he's prepared that way since he's gotten here. And he had a great example of how to prepare with Benjamin Morrison. But he is now developed into a true core. He's not just a good player with great talent. He is a really good cornerback. And that's with Coach Mickens and the way he's developed that room, some of the leaders in that room, and him putting the work in, like he's developed into a really good cornerback.
And Mitchell Evans is about 10 months, almost exactly 10 months removed from surgery. All the stress tests on the knee that, of course, have to happen to clear him are there. But does he take contact in camp? Is that even something you do with players coming back from injury where they take contact on the knee?
Yeah. Mitchell Evans definitely has, and same thing with Benjamin Morrison. He's gotten some live reps with tackling, even though he had shoulder surgery. Like, you have to callous yourself a little bit, right? You have to tackle, and you have to take live reps. It's important that you feel confident. It's probably more for the individual, right, than it is for the medical staff. It's that individual needs that confidence. I remember Benjamin Morrison came to me and said, Coach, I have to tackle. Like, I need to tackle. I want to be in there live, because we kind of held him out of some live situations. And the medical staff said he doesn't have to do that, but for his own confidence, he wanted to do that. And so to have him out in those live situations, have Mitchell Evans out, not being in a controlled environment was important for their own confidence.
Okay, staying in the middle on your left, Mike Berardino.
Hey, Marks. Been about a year and a half, but you got to spend a good amount of time with Colin Klein. And I just wondered what intrigued you about him, what made him someone that was on your short list at that time for the job. And then did you guys watch a lot of film? How much ball did you talk in that? And are there little things that probably stick in your mind and maybe in his mind that's part of the cat and mouse of this week? Will that show up again?
No, I mean, more than anything is you watch his offenses at Kansas State. He does a great job of utilizing different personnel, formation shifts. I remember at the time that we were, looking for an offensive coordinator. What attracted me to what they did at Kansas State was their ability to use multiple tight ends, their ability to have some type of what I call a pro-style offense and have success doing it. And so you see the same thing even this past year when you watch his film, like a lot of different formations, a lot of different personnels, utilizing multiple tight ends. And so very creative mind. So we have to, again, you're preparing for a lot more than what you're really going to see. It's going to be we have to be able to settle down and say, okay, hey, here's the things we think we're going to see or that we are seeing in the first couple of series, and here's what we want to do defensively.
And they're without their top running back, but one of the X factors sounds like from what they're saying down there is that true freshman Terry Bussey, extreme speed, and they might play both ways, all three phases.
Yeah.
I think he was on the LSU short list, so maybe Coach Denbrock knew him well. But what do you expect? How how much of a factor? How do you prepare for a guy playing his very first game with those skills?
He's also a guy that I think he's going to be their kick returner too. Big high school recruit, speed. He's a fast guy, and I don't know how they're going to use him. Right? Are they going to use him as a running back or as a wide out and defensively? I don't know, but he's a good player. He is a good player that was a good high school player that we'll have to know where he's at and be accounted for him.
Okay, we're going to end it with that. Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.